An initial workshop was held to familiarize a number of the key influences in Scottsburg with the approach. The approach was successful, and in less than a year funding was raised to run a series of 3 workshops that would be applied to each of the 3 phases of appreciation, influence, and control. This video, for the sake of learning, will treat all 3 workshops as one. For the sake of learning, we may also use video out of sequence. The AIC process proposes that it is purpose that provides us with our true source of power. So if we can find a way to include everybody's purpose in our organizing efforts, then our organization will be so much more powerful. It will include all the purposes of everybody involved. Fundamentally, the process is very simple. It involves setting up the appropriate appreciative conditions, influence conditions, and control conditions for each phase. Participants' contribution is equally appreciated, and that there is no opportunity for other participants to influence or control what people say.
My name is Keith Colbert, and I'm with the Chamber of Commerce. I would like for this magic wand to help me understand a little bit better why people behave the way they do.
I would like to see plenty of funding to enable us to take what we learned in this program.
Today, what I would like to take away is to learn from Scott County for all the things that you do, and as you go
We then ask the participants to use their imagination and their intuition on all the statements of purpose they heard to imagine what the future of Scottsburg and the implementation of all these ideas might entail. In other words, what is the potential for Scottsburg? We ask participants to work on this for their own for 5 or 10 minutes, but then we put them in randomly chosen groups in which their task is to give an artistic impression of what the potential is that they see for improving the quality of life in Scottsburg. At the end of the process, we don't sum up, because anyone who sums up may unwittingly interject their own influence on the situation or even attempt to control how things should move. We just move on to the next phase. Each group then presents their pictures and a sheet of brief interpretation in bullet form. When they've finished, they then hang their pictures on the wall where they remain for the rest of the workshop.
Of ideas, people coming in to a central location where it was almost a festival event with bands, school bands playing, and soapboxes, and people able to be on those soapboxes telling their stories, a corporate world, schools telling what their dreams are.
As we see from this chart, the exercise of potential provides the top half of the picture of the field of appreciation. The next exercise will provide the bottom half, a picture of the realities. Using exactly the same format as for the previous assignment, the group is asked, if this potential for Scottsburg is to be realized, then what are the realities that we must face in order to achieve this potential? The group before works alone as individuals for 5 to 10 minutes, and then joins the same group, still listening appreciatively, without comments, without judgments, and again produces another work of art showing the realities that Scottsburg must face. The appreciative phase is designed to cover the widest set possible of all the possible potentials and all the possible realities that could affect the achievement of the purposes of raising the quality of life in Scottsburg. It takes people to the heights and depths in honoring everybody's perception of the possibilities for Scottsburg. As such, it creates a more spiritual bond between them and increases their sense of oneness.
It was kind of one of those awe things. Gosh, you know, seeing Bill Graham's kind of summary at the end and talking about spirit and faith, you know, what he's trying to tell us is nothing more than you and I have been reading in Scripture all of our life.
It provides a common backdrop of understanding against which all future action can be assessed. It helps raise the level of spirit, but also raises the level of trust and the sense of possibility for future outcomes.
You know, it's not so much what we say, but it's what people see us doing that causes them the basis for, I think, everything that...
The job of the influence phase is very different from that of the appreciative. In the influence phase, we have to understand what are the key priorities and who are the people best able to carry those out. Sure that a very wide range of priorities is looked at, and we have to be sure to understand how pursuit of those priorities will affect the people involved. Will it have positive, negative effects, and how will they react? In this phase, we do everything we can to help people find, pursue, and defend their passions. We want people to be working on what they are passionate about, even more than what they are qualified for or what they are responsible for. Once they've formed a group, they give the area a name and place it in the center of a circle on a flip chart. They then ask each member what are the priorities they see necessary for making progress in that area. In contrast to the appreciative phase, participants are encouraged to ask questions, challenge, and debate the relevance and importance of each issue. In the second influence assignment, the group takes each major priority and places it in turn in the center of a flip chart. They then ask each member who they believe are the major stakeholders, that is, who will affect or be affected by any action taken to achieve that priority. The group is then asked to discuss and debate what major positive and negative effects that working on the priority will have for both the organization and the stakeholders themselves. The leaders of each group formed a circle in the center of the room with one open chair. Anyone outside of the center could come in and occupy the chair.
You know, the low graduation rate and adults needing more education and you know, the social issues.
The Lifelong Learning Center, the clearinghouse, those were tangible things. And drug abuse prevention is a very intangible thing. Education is a very intangible thing. The faith community thing is very intangible. And I've heard over time, sometimes from other people in the community, oh, we've just put tons of money into education, nothing happens. We've worked on these social problems and nothing happens.
Whereas the job of the influence phase is to sort out the best options and to fully understand the consequences of pursuing one strategy over another, the job of the control phase is to gain the commitment of those responsible to take the action necessary
About the
and to
meeting.
check
And,
whether that action will achieve the purpose. In this phase, teams are grouped according to their area of responsibility. The teams make their action plans, and then the group as a whole. In this case, we show the mayor outlining his vision for Scottsburg and reflecting with the group
And
on the
we've
role
done
of
industrial
planning.
training, we've done all these things, we're working on education, but I think we really got a vision for tomorrow. So are we transportation driven? I think our history might indicate that we are. Move on to think about it and what is our future? What's going to be the future of Scott? What we come up with that we know we have to work on is education, training, technology, innovation, entrepreneurship, minds in motion, and I'll get Carolyn to come back and explain that if you would, Carolyn. Drugs and alcohol, drug and alcohol abuse-free community. Quality of life, I really get excited about this part because, you know, we built this dream out here, this campus of the clearinghouse, the welfare office, the YMCA, and the Lifelong Learning Center. And next door right now is the OVO building a Head Start Center. So, and I think what I'm trying to tell you is we see our future. The next highway or the next railroad is probably telecommunications. We're in a process right now of running a line from Highway 31 where this line runs over here to this very building where we send out.
The group finally reflects on their experience with the AIC process and its potential role in helping with the quality of life.
Finalize it.
I just think that a plan sometimes causes us not to reach our maximum potential. And as long as we stay focused on something I had written down here, create a relationship within the community that will enable the community to reach its maximum.
Recognize that plans are fluid and they can be changing as we reevaluate.
This doesn't quite fit with your analogy, but yes, our maximum potential changes as time goes by. So we need to continuously revise.
We're looking for people under 40 or under 38 or whatever we want. Can you identify one or two people that for a period of time, would meet for lunch and just talk to us?
I would say that as early as the second Wednesday in August, we should have a report ready to present to the board and with some recommendations on next steps.
A lot more than coincidence that I showed up here at this meeting in Scott County. I have a real passion for everything that we talked about today, but my greatest passion is, like Keith, in the faith-based community, and there are so many things that we can do with that group of people. And I'm not talking about any certain religion, any certain church, or even the structure.
From my standpoint, it's a little different than everybody else because I'm, just coming in, to the workplace. So I'm going to be the person that, is doing these jobs and truly benefiting, for the rest of my life, from these. And I really have, seen through going to college that how this could be such a great thing, not just for the community, but for, everybody in the surrounding areas.
And I'm very excited about this PTT Center, of which I just heard last night. And I think it's going to be a great opportunity for technological people like Jonathan over here, and for the community to really spread and sprawl out.
I'd like to see it expanded, and I think with the AIC process, it can be expanded to where we can work with the region, we can work with the state, and we can work at a federal level. Politics aside, barriers aside, territorial.
I think now probably follow-up is probably most important. So it boils down to, do we want to be just average and ordinary, in life? Or do we want to contribute?
Today is, it seems that Scott County is really positioned to move forward with this process, and certainly ready to identify several people with the interest.
I'm happy to see the gathering of people that we have, the different people that are here, and to know, to reaffirm that this is a dynamic.
I also think I'm excited to hear, like Cindy said, all the things that are happening and the ways we are tackling problems in this county, not just one sector kinds of things, but working holistically.
This is the first opportunity that I have seen that makes sense.
The AIC process has a lot of synchronicity with the way that the city of Scottsburg operates and with Mayor Graham.
I come from a rural community that we just love. And yet I will tell you, when we look at Scottsburg, you're doing things here that would make us stronger in the community that I'm from. You're doing a lot of things that are innovative that are not done in other areas.
In terms of next steps for me, I assume most of my work in terms of influence as far as the 4 projects mentioned today is going to be on the regional level as part of the Southern Indiana Rural Development Project.
Perhaps I can influence some people there and try to take a more positive approach and determine how that community can also capitalize on many of the good things that are happening in Scottsburg.
For a number of years before I retired, we thought that was one of the best things that had come along in quality improvement. But I'm convinced, and not because you all are here, that we've been introduced to something equally as good as Six Sigma or even better. It's something that I feel more passionate about in taking to my community.
Try to learn from what you do in Scottsburg and turn around and help other communities in a similar way that Thayer does. And it's very exciting to work with people in Scottsburg because they think outside the box. And I think what we have done here in this session and earlier sessions is very helpful, and it will help me in working with other communities. And that is part of this project, is to be able to replicate what we do here in other communities. That's our challenge.
I think the reason why we get things done here in Scott County is because once we walk through this door, we leave those agendas outside, and we're concerned about making this a better place.
I'm kind of responding and looking forward to working with you on the next phase of appreciation influence.